All right, let's talk about the thyroid. You've got this tiny, butterfly-shaped gland right at the front of your neck, and it's basically your body's master engine for metabolism. It's super powerful, but it's also really sensitive. And today, we're going to explore two totally different ways of thinking about how to keep that engine running smoothly.
And this is a huge deal for a lot of people. I mean, look at this number, 42 million. According to the World Health Organization, that's how many people in India alone are dealing with thyroid issues. So this is not some small niche problem. It is a massive health challenge.
So, what's its job exactly? Well, think of it like the central control panel for your body's energy. It's in charge of how fast your heart beats, how quickly you burn food for fuel. It even helps set your body temperature. For something so small, it has a ridiculously important job. Okay, so what happens when that control panel starts to glitch out? Well, it usually goes one of two ways. You can have hypothyroidism, where the gland is underactive. Everything just slows down. You feel sluggish, you might gain weight, you're always cold. But then you've got the total opposite, hyperthyroidism. That's when the gland is overactive and it revs your whole system up. We're talking anxiety, weight loss, a racing heart. You get the picture. Two sides of the exact same coin. So, let's start with the way most of us are taught to think about it. The thyroid as your body's master switch. When it's on, everything's great. But when it flips the wrong way, the whole system can get thrown into chaos. Now, let's switch gears completely and look at this through an entirely different and much older lens, the Ayurvedic framework. And this isn't just about taking a few herbs, It's a whole different philosophy for understanding how the body works and what makes it fall out of balance. At the very heart of Ayurveda is this idea of doshas. Think of them as three fundamental energies, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, that are basically running the show inside you, governing everything from your digestion to your mood. And in this system, health is simple. It's all about keeping those three in balance. And this is where it gets really interesting. Ayurveda draws a direct line from these energies to thyroid conditions. Remember how hypothyroidism is all about being sluggish and slow? Ayurveda says, yep, that's a sign of too much Kapha dosha. And all that excess heat, anxiety, and inflammation from hyperthyroidism, that's an aggravated Pitta dosha. It's a completely different way of mapping the symptoms. And that leads us to another cool concept, Agni, or the digestive fire. You can pretty much think of it as the Ayurvedic word for metabolism. So in this framework, hypothyroidism isn't just a slow gland, it's something called mandagni, a weak or sluggish fire. And what happens when a fire is weak? It doesn't burn everything off, right? You get a buildup of gunk, which they call ama, or toxin. Okay, so if the problem is a weak fire and out-of-whack energies, how does Ayurveda propose to fix it? Well, that's where this ancient toolkit for restoring balance comes into play. And the approach is totally holistic. It's not just take this pill. Not at all. It's a whole system. Yeah, you've got specific herbs, but you also have detoxification to clear out all that ama we just talked about. Plus, there are really crucial changes to your diet and your lifestyle. Things like meditation and yoga aren't just seen as nice-to-haves, they're considered essential for rebalancing the body. And here are just a few of the actual herbs in that toolkit. You've probably heard of ashwagandha, right? It's famous for helping with stress and supporting thyroid function. Then you have guggulu, which helps kickstart metabolism, and kanchanar, which is really specific for things like goiters or swelling in the thyroid. So you see, each herb has a very particular job to do. Now, all this theory is great. But what does it actually look like for a real person? Let's dive into a patient story from a published case study and see how this all played out. Okay, so here we have a 32-year-old man. He'd been dealing with both hypothyroidism and diabetes for 8 years. And here's the key part. Even though he was on conventional medication, he was still suffering from all these other symptoms. Things like severe weakness, major hair loss, and poor memory. The standard treatment just wasn't solving the whole problem for him. And now, get ready for the wow moment. This is the data. Before he started the Ayurvedic protocol, his TSH level, that's the key hormone marker, was way up at 18.71. That is very, very high. Now look at the number after just a month and a half of treatment. It dropped all the way down to 3.05, which is smack in the middle of the normal range. I mean, that is a jaw-dropping change in a really short amount of time. So how does Ayurveda even connect these dots? This flowchart here, called a samprapti, is basically their theory of the crime. It looks a little complex, but it's really just a roadmap. It shows how lifestyle factors at the top lead down to that weak digestive fire and toxic buildup in the middle, which then ultimately results in hypothyroidism at the bottom.
It shows there's a whole systematic process behind the disease.
So where does all this leave us? We've just walked through two completely different ways of looking at the very same problem. And again, this isn't about deciding which one is right or wrong. It's about understanding that they are two genuinely distinct philosophies of health.
Let's break it down one more time. The conventional approach is like a sniper. It's incredibly precise. It finds the hormonal deficiency and manages it with medication. The goal is management. The Ayurvedic approach, on the other hand, is more like a gardener. It's not just looking at one sick leaf, it's trying to fix the soil, the water, the sunlight, the entire system to restore balance. The goal is restoration.
And honestly, if you take one single thing away from this explainer, let it be this. This is not a competition. It's about recognizing two different objectives. One system is designed to manage a condition. The other seeks to restore the body's own natural ability to find its own balance.
And all of this leaves us with a really fascinating question for the future. We know from modern science just how deeply our lifestyle, our diet, and our stress are connected to chronic illness. So, could the best path forward lie not in choosing one over the other, but in actually integrating them? Combining the incredible precision of modern science with the deep, holistic wisdom of an ancient system like Ayurveda. Now that is something to think about.